Things
Hi.
down.
So for those of you who are watching us in landscape orientation, you're watching us through Restream. It's an Austin-based service that allows you to stream your interviews, videos, podcasts to 30 plus platforms simultaneously. If you're watching us vertically, you're watching us on Instagram, and that's just a good old Instagram. And today with me is the amazing Morgan Seaman from this empowered mom coaching and consulting. And we're going to talk about the important, very, very important subject of making New Year's resolutions and just resolutions that don't coincide with the calendar change of the year. How to stick to them, how to be realistic, and how to show up for yourself authentically. Hi, Morgan. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. Olga, thanks so much for inviting me to join you today. Can you hear me okay? Is my
Yes.
audio? Okay, awesome. Well, I'm so excited to be here. And honestly, this is, I feel like one of the first times I've gotten fully dressed in a week. So that
I
feels great too.
feel
It
so
feels really
seen.
good. You want me
So,
to
how
share a
did
little bit
you?
about myself?
Yes. How did you become a coach?
Okay, great question. So, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, graduated from Whittier College, and then thought I would take a year off and then go into child psychiatry, go back to grad school. And I got a job in the corporate world that I loved. And I loved that kind of the allure of the corporate world. And I had a really successful career. I had two kids. After I had my kids, I ended up, gosh, I think I was promoted like 8 times in 8 years. So I really took the
Wow.
mentality of like, I have these kids. I don't want anybody to think that becoming a mother has changed me. So I pushed even harder. And
Mhm.
as a result of all that pushing, I had a lot of success. And I also kind of started to lose track of like who I wanted to be. I was a self-defined workaholic and I was really close to burnout. And my favorite
Oh,
thing about my job, I mean, I loved my clients and I loved solving puzzles. I also loved coaching and mentoring my team and new employees and people who wanted to get into project management. So once I kind of hit my breaking point and was crying in my closet on a Thanksgiving night, I said, you know what? No more of this. I've got to take care of myself. I've got to kind of stop saying yes to everybody else. And it was then that I kind of refound my passion for helping others. I'd thought about coaching actually when I was in college. And so through working with a coach myself and a counselor, I realized that I could say yes to that dream and that passion. So I started working with a business coach and a mindset coach and completed a coaching certification program, which was really intense, and started my business serving other women who like me, are high achievers and want to be great at everything they do, and maybe need to take a step back and realize that there's so much more to our health and happiness than greatness or what we think of as greatness.
well, definitely, because we all have this mentality that you have a baby and you can do it. You can do it all, and you should be
Right.
perfect, and you should look like you don't. You can't show what you've actually been through. So,
Yes.
and you pretend that everything is like in magazines, and your babies are angels, which they are, but in their own complex way, and you can continue with your career or with your business or with all your commitments, and then something happens,
Yeah.
and as you said, you're crying in the closet. And so tell us more about what career wise, who are your clients? Are they working mom who are employees, or are they business owners, or are they just stay-at-home moms but who can't keep up with their lifestyle anymore?
That's a great question. So, I work with a lot of different women. I would say that kind of the core of my business is working with women or people who identify as women who are in kind of the corporate sector. So they are not necessarily in charge of their own schedule and they're not necessarily working in their own business model. They feel this pull that they're answering to kind of a big boss, and they're having a lot of success there. And then they also have the pulls and the demands of their family and their other relationships. So not to say that I don't work with entrepreneurs or even stay at home moms. The goal for me in my work with my clients is to help them see that they do have choices. I mean, that's such a big part of, I think, getting wrapped up in saying yes to everybody else is suddenly we feel like, who am I if I'm not doing that? If I say no to this person, what does that do to my status or my potential growth? So any woman or mother or someone who's identified as a woman who starts to feel that pull, we can make some serious progress.
Yeah, that's great. I think we need that helping hand. We need the guidance to show us that we're not alone. It's not just us. It's
Right.
not just me who is weak and the failing mom and the failing career woman. That we are all in the same boat, but we just pretend that we are in our own bubbles.
Yeah, yeah, and that's being part of a community too, where you realize that you're not alone is so important because I think when a lot of us really start to feel that insecurity or self doubt or imposter syndrome, we're so micro focused. Like, we must be the only ones feeling this way, or I must be the only one who doesn't have it all together or who isn't loving every moment of motherhood. So, really kind of working with somebody who's outside of that really, really micro bubble to start pulling the lens back to see you're not alone and your struggles are real and your challenges are real. And there are other people who are feeling similar or who have been through a similar experience. And that helps to know we're not alone.
Definitely. And sometimes maybe it helps to know that you're actually doing quite well compared, all things considered, because you might have 39 problems on your list, but maybe some people have more. Or maybe you successfully handled something that other people couldn't. So it's empowering. And
Mhm.
talking about empowering, how did you come up with a name for your coaching program?
Oh, great question. So this empowered mom, I really love the idea of empowering ourselves and empowering other people. So this empowered mom could be referring to me as an
Mhm.
empowered mom. It's something that could be referring to other mothers. So it's really something where I, as a coach and as a woman, have ownership as this empowered mom, and the same um, can transcend to clients and the people that I work with, or and really every mom. We can all be this empowered mom at this moment in time right now.
And it can also be the ultimate goal. You want to feel
Yes.
empowered. You don't want to feel depressed. You want to feel empowered.
Yeah, and to know, part of being empowered is again to know that we have choices. So often and I know I used to do this, I would say like I have to do this. I have to get this done. And if I really take a step back and think about like, well, do I have to or do I want to? Like, I
Mm.
want to give my kids dinner because I want them to be fed and nourished. I guess, do I have to? No, someone else could, or they could go in the pantry and they're old enough to do that. But I want to do that for them. And
Mhm.
even that subtle shift is me recognizing that I have a choice there. I want to do that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting phenomenon when we say, "Well, I have so much on my plate. I have to do this and this and this," and then you look at your to-do list and you're like, "Well, maybe I don't have to vacuum every day, or maybe I don't have to make all those appointments, and I can just cancel if my baby got sick, or maybe I don't
Mhm.
have to do this absolutely perfectly because people will understand." But we are sometimes harsher judges of ourselves than other people. So it's
Yes.
great that you help shift that perspective and kind of ease the
Mhm.
pressure. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
speaking about New Year's and resolutions, and of course, it's gonna be magical. We're gonna wake up fresh, new people, and everything is gonna be different, like it has been every year till
Right.
now. And everyone probably kept their resolutions from all the previous years. And it's not like in that meme where you like, my resolutions for next year is keep with the resolutions from 5 years that I failed. So, what's your take on that? Are they helpful? Are they healthy to have?
That's so helpful and healthy. Those are two really interesting words there because uh, we were, Olga and I were chatting earlier, and I said, I think the only resolution that I can think of that I've actually kept was to watch less reality TV. And I eliminated American Idol from the shows that I watched. And this was back in like 2008. And I stopped making traditional New Year's resolutions probably 3 or 4 years ago because for me, they weren't necessarily healthy. They weren't always based in reality. And like you mentioned, it was as if I was going to wake up on January 1st and be this completely different person. And that's not reality. We're changing
Mhm.
every day because that's neuroscience, that's our brains making new connections and having new experiences. But I'm the same Morgan on January 1st in the morning that I was when I went to bed on December 31st. So I like to think of setting intentions not only for the new year, but for a week or for a month, and really centering those in how do I want to feel? Do I
Mhm.
want to feel resolute in my decisions and having my own back? Do I want to feel radiant in any situation that I can go into the situation and I know that I want to feel as if I've believed in myself. I've come to the place where I was meant to be. So when I think of intentions for the new year, I think micro, just even getting rid of that word resolution because it's so loaded. It's like we've got
Mhm.
to make this decision for 2022 and do it all year long. And that's a lot. I mean, that's heavy. I don't even know what I want to do next week. I want my kids to get back to school. Like that's that's where I am. So in terms of setting intentions, really look at a time frame I think that's realistic.
Mhm.
And then ask yourself, is this something that's even within my own control? Because a lot of times I think we're thinking big, big picture and these big resolutions of this like picture of perfection. And a lot of the aspects of it aren't even things we can control. And if they're outside of our
Mhm.
control, then we really don't have the power to see them come to light or fruition. So these are the questions I would ask myself. How do I want to feel at any
Mhm.
given time? How do I want to feel? Is this within my control? Is what I want within my control? How can I think about it? How can I get to how I want to feel? And then what's the value of having that intention or achieving an outcome? And what's the value in not? I think
Mhm.
it's important for our brains to play both sides of that because if I said I wanted to work out more, which I don't know the percentage, but it's probably like 75% of Americans are like, I'm going to work out more in the new year. What's
Guilty.
the value in that for me? Is it because I'm working on my cardiovascular health? Is it because I want my, clothes to fit differently? Is it because I overall want to feel healthier? And then what's the value in not doing it? That kind of tricks our brain into going to the other end of the spectrum. And if that list is really long, then we're going to default to that. When that list is shorter and we're not putting up barriers, then we're more likely to achieve the outcome that we want. So I'd say set your intentions rather than your resolutions. And don't worry about the whole year. That's a lot. If 2020 and 2021 have taught us anything, it's impossible to know what's going to happen in a year.
Oh, definitely. So yeah, I completely agree, and I never stuck to my resolutions I never followed through because ha- I forget. I forget what I did. And sometimes, without, as you said, seeing the goal, the value, the purpose, and the big
Hmm.
picture, you get lost in the little steps that you planned. And then you're like, but why am I doing this? For example, you
Yeah.
tell yourself, read 10 pages of, I don't know, The Economist every day. But what's the big picture? If you want to be a more well-read person or understand more about the economy, if you see the big picture, you might come up with more creative solutions to
Hmm.
achieve that goal rather than just read 10 pages and be like, well, I don't I didn't learn anything new. I learned something, but it didn't change the way I understand it. So I guess what you're suggesting is seeing the goal and then breaking it down in tasks to achieve it rather than, well, I'll just do something all year
Hmm.
round and
Hmm.
then we'll see where it takes me because
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
little bit of a surprise. Well, let's see if I do this exercise for a year and let's see rather than
Right.
see it more holistically.
Right. Because a lot of times, and I think with moms who are so busy and feeling overwhelmed or feeling stressed out or feeling like they're not good enough, sometimes it's not really about adding more to our plates. A lot of times it's not about adding more to our plates. It's looking at what do I have going on right now? And again, how do I want to feel? If I want to feel more empowered or if I want to feel less overwhelmed, then what does that look like for me in the new year
Hmm.
or in the next month? Is it that I can actually give myself permission to delegate something? I mean, gosh, what an amazing gift to you and sometimes even the person who you are giving that to. Um, gosh,
Yeah.
and how is that different? And how are you going to feel different than if you say, well, my goal is to, you know, work out every single day. Why? What do you want from that?
Hmm.
If you know what you want from that, cool. If it's just because
Yeah.
you're looking for something to check off a list, then maybe kind of look inward.
Yeah, there's this obsession with bucket lists, resolutions lists, to-do lists, lists of lists to do things, and then we kind of lose track of what exactly we're pursuing there, why we're
Hmm.
going through the motions of these tasks. And speaking of, you mentioned that you kept a resolution of watching less. So, do you think it's harder to develop a new habit to do something or to break the habit of doing something and you don't want to continue with it?
Ooh, that's a
A
good
tricky one.
one. That is a tricky one because I think if we look at, at the brain and what it takes to build that memory to make something a habit, whether you're taking something away or adding something, you're still forming a habit. I
Hmm.
have a really rudimentary example of how quickly in this last year my family was able to form a habit. And if you're in Austin, I think you'll understand during the snowstorm, blizzard, whatever we want to call it, snowpocalypse, we lost our water, right? So we could not flush our toilets, and I think there were many people in Austin in the same boat. And so that was a very quick habit to break. We literally took that out of our daily life for 6
Hmm.
days, and I think it's because we needed to. I mean,
Hmm.
we absolutely had to stick to that, and maybe there were a couple of missed flushes, but man,
Hmm.
after that first day when we were actually then responsible for getting snow and filling the tank, like we were able to
Oh,
do that pretty quickly. So I
trauma.
think, yeah, trauma, yeah, still processing that. What that showed me about the brains and our malleability and how quickly we're able to adapt is that when we really want something or when we really need something, those are the habits, whether we're trying to take something away or we're trying to add something, that are more likely to stick. So when you know why or what the value in it is, it becomes easier to stick to, whether you're adding something on or taking it away. If
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah. So you need to be really motivated, really scared into doing something in a good way, in a good,
Well, yeah,
it's
I
not like
mean,
intimidated, but more like, I really need this. It's not
or
just
want
hobby.
it.
It's not just something on the list.
Yeah, and really thinking about like, I want this. Like, why do I want this? I wanted it because I wanted our plumbing to continue working after snowpocalypse. I didn't want to spend the money to get all new plumbing. And so when it comes to like setting our intentions for the year, thinking like, what will this do for me? How will this benefit me? If I take time every single day to ask myself, how am I showing up for myself today? And simply ask myself that question, what's the benefit in it for me? And if I get into the routine of doing that and then I can see the benefit, then I'm more likely to do that.
That really makes sense. And I think it's very valuable advice. So for those who are making their resolutions tomorrow, remember that the why behind the resolutions, and that you really need it, you really want it. It's not just something, that little thing to try. It's an intention, not just a
Mhm.
resolution. Tell us more about your coaching. How does it work? How does the onboarding work for new clients, and what should they expect?
Good question. Great question. So, the first step in working with me is getting on a discovery call together so that we can
Mhm.
together see if we're a good fit to work together, really understanding kind of what is it that you want, getting back to what do you want? Is it to feel a certain way? Is it to, transition into a new place in your career? What are you really wanting and kind of what's that rooted in? And from there, if we are a good fit to work together and you're wanting to kind of dig into living a life with more self compassion, self advocacy, a lot of my clients are looking to move away from people pleasing, I'll say it. I was and, still am working on people pleasing and living more intentionally for me. Then I have a 12-week program where we meet and work together to really walk alongside one another, to help um, my client achieve the outcome that she's looking for. Again, whether it's more, I hear a lot of, I want more calm, I want to be in more control of my schedule, I want to have ownership of my time. So we'll take steps to do that. So there's strategy combined with really kind of digging into what are your thoughts about that? What are your feelings about that? What
Mhm.
are some of the patterns that may be leading to barriers and achieving what it is you want, and what's an alternative way of thinking about that. So we really do a lot of work on brain and thinking, and then kind of combining that with heart and the
Mhm.
passion. So that's 12 weeks. I also have a 4-week program for somebody who is thinking, I want to give this a try. I'm not sure I'm ready to commit. I love the results of the 12-week. I'm also happy to do a 4-week to help somebody kind of get their feet wet with coaching. Coaching changed my life, and so did working with a counselor. So I'm a huge advocate for taking care of our selves, our mind and bodies, they work together. It's not only physical health and mental health, it really is a whole picture. So trying to get to that place before it's too late, before you've hit rock bottom, is again an amazing gift to yourself.
Oh, absolutely. And in this past, how, the 18 months, I guess we
Yeah.
had this big test for ourselves, our families, our relationships, our lifestyle. So it's really important to, that was a big resolution, because we might
Mm-hmm.
not wake up new people the 1st of January, but we did wake up new people when the world changed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's really important to learn to find your bearings and get comfortable, get on track with your goals and with yourself. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
thank you for doing this for people. I am sure a lot of women, and do you work with men?
I haven't worked with any men. I guess that, I do some coaching on the side with the men in my life, with my husband, who I sometimes have to ask, like, do you want to vent right now, or do you want me to respond as a coach? So, um, so it would be interesting to work with a man. I'm not opposed to it. It's not they're not my target market.
Well,
But I think if we were a
for
good
those
fit
who
to
want to
work together,
broaden their horizons, yeah, and try something and listen to the other side might be
mhm,
important. So very valuable for both
yeah.
women and men. And the
Mhm.
last question I wanted to ask you, tell us more about this Empowered Day. What is it?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I have a planner. I launched a planner in November. Gosh, it's sometimes feels like longer than that. And it's a planner and a journal. It's completely undated, so you can pick it up any day of the week, any week of the year. And it is a plan for starting and ending each day with self care, self compassion, and self advocacy. So it does have a spot for a to do list. I like to think
Mhm.
of it as a what do I want to do today list. Again, trying to kind of break that cycle of I have to do this, I have to do this, I need to do this, and that subtle shift in thinking like, what do I want to do today? If there's a
Mhm.
place, like I said, every day when I use this planner, I ask myself, how am I showing up for myself today? So that I can think like that's the self care component. How am I taking care of me? It's got a splace, that's a new word for your top three. Really, again, to remember that we may not accomplish our entire list in a day, and that's okay. That's real life. So, what are the top three things that you absolutely want to achieve? And then at the end of the day, a spot to write down three things that went well, because I think it's really important every day as we take care of ourselves and as we treat ourselves with compassion to think about, what did go well today? What were some of my wins? And then a place for reflection. So it's got a daily planning layout, an undated monthly calendar spread so you can put in your own dates, and then room to set those same kinds of intentions on a monthly basis, not a whole year.
Wow. That's a great gift to yourself and your family members too. And you don't have to start it in January. You can start it
That's
any
right.
week, any month. How can people purchase it?
You can shop on my website. I have an online shop, and my website is www.thisempoweredmom.com/shop, and the planner is there. And you can buy it online anytime, and it'll ship now within the at least one business day. And if you're in Austin, you'll get it really quick.
Oh, that's awesome. And we included it in our Christmas gift guide. And I think
Yes.
it's the best gift of thoughtfulness and care that you can give to someone.
Oh, thank
Something
you.
where people can grow and use it as a tool to help them track their progress.
Yeah, and there's a lot of space, blank space for notes and journaling to use however you want, because as part of taking care of ourselves, I think it's really important to get our thoughts down on paper. When they're swirling around up here, it's so much more difficult to process them, and they can kind of start to take over. And we get them out, it becomes a lot easier to process them and to move forward.
Yeah, that's very valuable. And I highly encourage everyone to get it because
Thank
you
you.
don't have to do a resolution once a year. You can do intentions and be intentional every single day.
Exactly.
Thank you, Morgan. It was so much fun. Thank you for sharing and for being a part of our Austin community.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's been great getting to know you and so many other amazing women.
Thank you. And if you guys not a member of Austin Businesswoman yet, please go to austinbusinesswoman.com and list your business today. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Happy New Year.